You are listening to the Novel Writing Podcast, episode 78. Grab a cup, cozy up, and let's get to writing. Today's episode is about how to use a tool called ColdTurkeyWriter to break writer's block, or at the very least, effectively block your computer from basically every single distraction. ColdTurkeyWriter is a free application that will completely lock you out of your computer until you hit a word count or a time goal. Once you lock yourself into a session, it's almost impossible to get out of it. You can put your computer to sleep, hibernate it, and possibly even turn it off completely. And when you get back in, ColdTurkeyWriter is still there waiting for you. The one time I forced turned off my tablet while ColdTurkeyWriter was active, it did actually come back closed, but I was able to open the autosave file that it saves every 10 seconds, so I didn't lose any work. That was the one time I did manage to get out of ColdTurkeyWriter, but it wasn't on purpose. I fully expected for it to turn back on and then just dump me right back into my session. I like using ColdTurkeyWriter to get myself past writing blocks. If I'm on my computer and I set up a longer YouTube video or a playlist on autoplay, I can work with my preferred music without distractions from browser tabs, research rabbit holes, or those random notifications. There is a pro version of ColdTurkeyWriter that is a one-time cost of $9. Yeah, $9. And that gets you some extra features like disabling backspace and delete, disabling the arrow keys, and disabling selection. The only free disable feature is disabling copy-paste, and that is enabled by default, and you can't turn it off unless you have Pro. ColdTurkeyWriter works with text files, like the ones you open with Notepad or other basic text editors. That means there's no fancy formatting, you get straight quotes instead of curly quotes, and if you set up your session right, you have the potential to hit some insane word counts. It's also a standalone program that you can download on as many computers as you like, and you can even download it to a USB stick to use on public computers like in libraries. That means you could double whammy your productivity by going to a library for peace and quiet, and then just using a USB drive to launch ColdTurkeyWriter, and then save the text file back to the USB, meaning you can go to the library without a laptop or a tablet and just use the computers there. Right now I use ColdTurkeyWriter like this. For the chapters I'm trying to finish, I preload a text file with the point of view and an outline of the chapter. Then, in ColdTurkeyWriter, I choose the option to open a draft, and I add word count. I try to stick with anywhere from 500 to 1,000 words per session, though I did do a session once where I blocked myself from my tablet for 2,500 words, and that got an entire chapter done in a single afternoon. Preloading the outline ahead of time helps prevent the likelihood that I'm staring at the screen, wondering what to write for that chapter. It also reminds me where the story has come from so far and where I need it to go, especially if I'm preloading a draft that I've already worked on before. And then I write. This program is one of my favorites for especially sticky writer's block. When I first told the premium group about it, one of the members went and tried it out and accidentally locked herself out of her computer until she wrote 100 or 200 words. It's something you can launch in a fit of annoyance with how little writing you've gotten done recently, and then basically force yourself to actually get something out until you hit either the word count or the time goal. Now, a word of warning. Pay close attention to the goals you set. Be very careful. The limit for word count is 9,998 words. So you'd be stuck until you write basically 10,000 words. But what's even more terrifying is that even though the ColdTurkeyWriter website says that the time goal maxes out at 999 minutes, which is just over 16 and a half hours, when I went in to see when the start button grays out, the time limit was also at 9,998 minutes, which is over 166 hours, which is almost an entire week. Now, it's possible their coding will still force you to pick something between 1 and 999 minutes, but as it stands on the version I just checked, it does let you put in 9,998 minutes. So please be very, very careful about the goals you're setting with ColdTurkeyWriter. I try to stick with word counts over time goals because I don't want to accidentally type an extra 9 or an extra 8 and suddenly be locked out of my computer for an entire week. At least with the time goal, you can press A space, A space, A space, or whatever combination of single letter words that you want over and over again until you can get yourself out of the time block. It might take a while, but at least you're not actually forced to wait for an entire week. Now, there also is an option to not be blocked at all, and that will let you exit at any time, but it still gives the illusion that you can't access anything else because it will gray out or white out your screens and not let you do anything except write until you click quit at the top. ColdTurkeyWriter is a great tool for any writer, and if you want to support the developers with $9 for the pro version, you can unlock more of their productivity features to help you get that first draft out of your brain and onto the page. You can check out the description for the link to try out ColdTurkeyWriter. That's it for today's episode. Thanks for joining me today, and remember, the first draft is supposed to be garbage. Thanks for listening to the Novel Writing Podcast. If you're ready to stop struggling and start finishing your novel, check out the 60-Day Novel Writing Challenge. It's a step-by-step program designed for solo writers to complete their first draft with clarity and focus. Visit the link in the description to learn more.